They tried to get a gag order, but we weren't having that. You know, the truth has to come out, and that's why we fly together. I'm Rob Love. This is One Flock. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champions, and who thought that it could happen? There was only one way it could, and that was for a fair game to be called, and that is exactly what happened. But why? The shocking truth, and what that means for the Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl hopes. All after this. I'm Rob Love. Welcome back to One Flock. It's time to fly. Let's go.
Let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens. We are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock.
Oh my goodness, welcome back to One Flock. I am your host, Rob Love, and I'm so happy to be back here with you. It has been far too long, and my goodness, how about that congratulations? Let me give it again to the Philadelphia Eagles, who did defeat the Kansas City Chiefs, and we are celebrating that as much as anything else. Not just being haters and celebrating on, the Kansas City Chiefs losing, as good as that was to see, but no, we're not excited just to see the Kansas City Chiefs lose. At least I'm not. I'm telling you, I was excited to see them lose, but not just for any reason. I would venture to say that most of us, the world, the collective group who celebrated the fall of the Kansas City Chiefs, we did it because we were celebrating more than anything else, seeing a fair game called when Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs were in the playoffs, much less the Super Bowl. We couldn't believe it. I was sitting there in disbelief, like, we were just waiting for it. And I want to tell you that was not the plan. That was not the original plan. And for those of you who are going, oh, Rob, stop. One Flock, stop with the conspiracy theorists. There's no rigging the NFL. There's no bad calls. Yes, the NFL did release a statement where they said specifically, it's ridiculous to think that bad calls. Of course, they're going to say that. And no, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. You know what I am? I am a realist, the same as so many others who, thankfully, because we are realists, were able to influence this year, and we'll talk about more of that later, the way this game ended up being called. And the Philadelphia Eagles are to be congratulated, but so are many of you, and we'll talk about that more here in a second. But for those of you who want to call me a conspiracy theorist because I say what my eyes have shown me, and what your eyes have shown you, if you want to be real, that very often, and we've still got that series coming up, don't worry, you guys will see it, playoff by playoff. The Kansas City Chiefs very often won games in the playoffs because of calls that were controversial, that went in their favor, that affected the outcome of the game. My eyes told me that. Your eyes told you that. But we adopted the fairy dust and the pixies and it's just magical how the Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, it's just magical how they just keep winning against all odds when they're playing against better teams, and they lost Tyreek Hill and they this and that, and somehow they keep winning. And these crazy developments in the game that we see that make absolutely no sense had nothing to do with it. It was just chance. It's just a magical run. Patrick Mahomes is just that good. That's why they won. Not these really, really strange, inexplicable calls, developments in the game. That's what we kept telling ourselves, and that's what the NFL kept selling. But, the whole time, you really, if you thought about it, were like, this don't make sense. I'm seeing too much that doesn't make sense. Let me tell you something. When you see that, when you're looking at something and it doesn't make sense, there's always a reason for that. If you're looking at something, if your kid comes in and talks to you and says, Mom, and gives you some explanation of what you're looking at and it makes zero sense, I hope you're not the parent that goes, oh, okay. I hope you let logic reign supreme and use what your eyes are telling you to figure out that, youngin's trying to pull one on me. I know my parents were swift. We tried. My siblings, we tried. But my parents weren't hearing it, and neither should you. Before we go into this any further, I want to say thank you to today's show sponsor, Love Our Ventures, Inc., your premier choice for luxury accommodations at destinations across the U.S. They are sponsoring today's show, and they have a special that we'll get into a little bit later. It's just for the One Flock audience, that any of you Kentucky Derby fans who are planning on making the 150th Derby this year, you want to stick around and hear about this one, because this one is special. And we'll get to that in a minute. But thank you again to Love Our Ventures, Inc. for sponsoring today's show. But if it doesn't make sense to your eyes, folks, real Ravens fan Ryan, notorious for saying it, believe your eyes, people. This year, for the first time, we got to see a game where our eyes weren't doing this, trying to figure out what in the world we were looking at with the calls that were being called and the strategies in the game. We saw a fair game. And as a result, none of us were surprised when the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Kansas City Chiefs. The only thing we were surprised about is that the game was called fairly. Now, why is that? Well, it's because of what our eyes have been seeing for years. Now, I'm going to give you some comments here. Check this out. These are the reactions. Now, if you think it wasn't a problem in the past, look at these reactions from multiple media members. This one here from SB Nation said, the officiating crew had minimal impact on the outcome. James Dator. Hope I didn't chew up his name. Why is he mentioning that? Because it was something new. Why would anyone mention that the officiating crews had no impact on the outcome? Was because we all were expecting that. We were expecting for the officiating crew to impact the outcome, and they did not. The Guardian wrote, the refs called a fair game, allowing the Eagles' superior play to shine. Why are they mentioning that? Because it's of note. Why is it of note? Because that's not what we've been seeing when the Kansas City Chiefs play in the past. Yahoo Sports said the game was officiated without controversy, focusing attention on the players' skills. Why is Yahoo Sports pointing that out? Because their eyes have been seeing the same thing the rest of us have been seeing. This is not what we expected. If Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, you expect for the officiating to have controversy. CBS Sports. Officiating was consistent throughout, ensuring a fair contest. Why did they mention that? Because it is of note. Why is it of note? We already said so. Our eyes have been telling us, Kansas City Chiefs, it's not going to be a fair contest. NFL.com. The referees maintain neutrality, allowing the game's outcome to reflect the team's true abilities. Why is that of note? Again, ESPN, balanced officiating contributed to a Super Bowl where the better team won without dispute. There it is. This is refreshing. It's such a, to be able to watch a game, a Super Bowl that we get to watch the best team walk away with the trophy. Nobody's robbed. No guys showing up with flags and stripes, stealing a game for a narrative. The Wall Street Journal, the fair officiating ensured that the Super Bowl was decided by the players, not the referees. Why are they pointing that out? Because even the Wall Street Journal has eyes, and they've known that that's not been the case in recent years, especially in the run of the Kansas City Chiefs. And finally, this one here, the New York Post, a well-officiated game that let the athletes' performances determine the championship. Folks, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is what our eyes have seen for years. Everyone was just pleasantly surprised to see a fair called game where the team that should have won, which was the Philadelphia Eagles, won the Super Bowl. But as I mentioned previously, that was not the original plan. That was not the original plan. And why do I say that? Well, our eyes had seen previous in the playoffs all season long, getting the Kansas City Chiefs to the Super Bowl. A lot of the refs and controversial calls and weird stuff happening. They got them to this incredible season that nobody understood. It didn't make sense. People looking at, well, if you look at them, Patrick Mahomes isn't playing that great, and they don't have this and they don't have that. How are they keep winning? Well. What we finally did see is that a fair game happened at the end. And I want to take you, as we look as to why that took place, I'd like to take you back. Any of you guys watch old mafia movies? Oh man, The Godfather. If you haven't seen The Godfather, you need to check that out. Godfather, woo, special. But I don't care what mob movie you've seen. In these movies, you'll see a lot of times there'll be a character who's a young kid. He just came up in the mob. The family's been around for a long time, and they do all this stuff in the shadows, and they got the operations that go on. But the young guy comes up, and he's a little rambunctious. And he gets a little what the mob calls messy. Say, Johnny's getting messy. And when Johnny gets too messy, and what does that mean? Johnny's he's drawing too much attention. He's drawing too much heat because he's being rambunctious. He's drawing attention that the mob doesn't want. Because unwanted attention brings scrutiny that can get everybody in trouble. If Johnny doesn't calm down, you know what the mob does in that movie? Johnny gets offed by the mob. Johnny will make it look like they had nothing to do with Johnny. Not because Johnny was doing something that they weren't doing, but because Johnny just got a little too messy, was drawing a little bit too much heat. The block got a little too hot. Here's what we need to understand. The NFL and the Kansas City Chiefs and what's been going on with that this year finally got a little too hot. It started to get messy. And that's why I have to not only give a congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles, but I have to give a congratulations to you. You, who am I talking about? All of the content creators, all of the people out there who've been putting the comments online, all the people who've been posting on TikTok, all the people who've been posting on Snapchat, all of the noise that the NFL couldn't silence. Because here's what you know. Mainstream media is tied directly to what? Corporations. Corporations, they make deals. So if the mainstream media was all that was out there, as it has been in years past, the primary source that people look to, well, the narratives can be controlled to an extent to where it never got messy enough to where the NFL had to change the script. But this year, it was noisy. It was noisy. More and more, tens of thousands, millions of people are going to content creators that are not associated. Look at you. Tens of thousands have been watching. One Flock's only been in existence. And by the way, thank you guys. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please take a moment right now to do it. We just started in January, and already we've almost reached 1,000 subscribers. That's a key point for us. I think last time I looked, we were at 854. That means only 146 more subscribers will reach our first milestone of 1,000 subscribers. And man, that's amazing. Can't thank you guys enough for that. So please, if you haven't already, we love you being here. We'd love to see you back. Like, subscribe. But the corporations can't control me. The corporations can't control the literally millions of content creators online. or the people commenting. And so the noise got so loud that instead of what was supposed to be three-peat, Patrick Mahomes, hero, the new Brady, oh, this, that, and the other, and everybody has this, they have this love campaign where they get to march the Chiefs across the country and make commercials, and everybody loves it. It was backfiring. The blatancy, the messiness of the way they've been directing from the background, the Chiefs winning these games they shouldn't have been winning, the blatancy of it was disgusting the audience. And because they couldn't kill the narrative, they couldn't silence the noise, had they done that again in this Super Bowl, it would have backfired totally. Instead of this, we can celebrate and make it a revenue and a big thing with the Kansas City Chiefs, it would have been bad for the NFL. It would have backfired. And they got people that study that. They got people going, hey, man, it's time we got to do something different. So congratulations to you. Because of that noise, because it got messy, we got to see a fair game. And we knew what would happen if we ever got to see a fair game with the Chiefs. Better team would win. And that's what we saw. So very refreshing to see that. Very refreshing to see that. And again, for those of you who don't understand how real that is, we talked about, money. $19 billion a year? It's a lot. We also talked about how the Major League Baseball and the NBA together make almost as much money a year as the NFL. Well, we know that 1919, Major League Baseball, the Chicago White Sox, black box scandal, threw the World Series. Why? For money from gamblers. They threw it to the Cincinnati Reds. People went to prison. Don't tell me it's just conspiracy theories that this stuff doesn't happen. More recently, you want more recent? NBA. 2000s. Referee. Tim Donaghy, I think was his name, the Tim Donaghy scandal. Referee. Went to the penitentiary, did 15 months. Why? Money. Was taking money from gamblers. Giving them information about how he was going to call the game so that they could place their bets. And he made his calls accordingly to make sure that money was made. Don't tell me that it doesn't happen. And here's another side point. Neither of those scandals involved a $19 billion revenue maker. The NFL is that. So it's nice to want to believe that, with all this money in play and all this stuff, that everything's hunky-dory and so nice and rose petals and just innocent. But if you want to play with that naivete, you want to be naive, you can do that. I can see where that would make you feel better. But I say, believe your eyes. Because if you believe your eyes and you are vocal about it, if you speak the truth, eventually the truth will give you a fair Super Bowl. And that's what we got this year. So for those of us who didn't just silently sit back and watch the bull, great job. We got to see a great Super Bowl game, and congratulations again to all of us and the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a win. We can all celebrate a refreshing game. Now, what does that mean for our Baltimore Ravens? Well, we know what we hope it means. We know what we hope it means. We hope it means that we can expect that next year, the Ravens will get a fair shot. The next year, the script won't involve, we need you, Baltimore Ravens, to abandon your dominant running game against the Kansas City Chiefs' weak rushing defense and instead pass into the teeth of their great secondary like we did 2 years ago in the AFC Championship. Didn't make sense. Nobody can make sense of it. It's like, remember, when it doesn't make sense, there's a reason. It still was barely enough for us to manage to lose the game, even with that nonsensical play calling that nobody could make sense of. Still required the refs to make some controversial calls, even with that whimsical play calling that nobody could make sense of. This year, we hope we get that opportunity. Now, why may we not get that? Well, remember, the spin is going to be what now that the NFL did have a fair game, they're going to try to use that to say what? It was always fair. We were never cheating. See, told you, you were expecting for this to happen and that to happen. No, it was never that way. See, the Philadelphia Eagles blew out the Kansas City Chiefs. It's always been that way. That's the way they'll try to spin it. And they're already actively trying to spin it that way. But remember, believe your eyes, people. Stay, maybe we get a fair season next year, where the referees don't become the center point. If so, I wholeheartedly believe that the Ravens should be able to pull off a win. It should be the greatest year in sports for us. One flock. Derrick Henry will be back. Of course, you guys heard Saquon Barkley got his money today. There's been some discussion about what that means. We got a comment that we're going to talk about here a little bit later. That'll be our call of the day. Don't forget, keep your comments coming. We find comments from there. I read every comment, respond to them. We pick one of the comments to talk about on the show. And today's call of the day, I think you guys will appreciate, has to do with the Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley situation. But this could be our big year. It could be our big year. It's the last year that we'll probably have both Andrews and Likely. We'll have Derrick Henry. He'll be back, whether he gets his deal this year or next year. I hope he gets it this year because the price is only going to go up. We've got to figure out the offensive line. I think the offensive line is really going to be critical. The Ravens have been hinting that there's going to be a big acquisition coming up here shortly, so we'll be keeping you updated with that this week. Davante Adams is back in the pool. Wow, can you imagine that? Davante Adams, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews. Woo-wee! And Davante Adams might be your number 3 wide receiver behind Zay and Bate. Picture that. Oh. Anyway, we've got, this could be a special year. In fact, I'm going to call it now. If the Baltimore Ravens get a fair season this year, you're looking at Super Bowl champions this year. Get ready, flock. The only way it won't happen this year is injury. And by injury, I mean a season like we had a few years back where everybody got hurt. Or if the most important guy, who we know who that is, I'm not even speaking that into existence. Could be a really special year. And speaking of special years, back to our sponsor. It's a special year. This is the 150th running of the Roses, the Run for the Roses, the Kentucky Derby, the biggest party on planet Earth. If you've not been to my hometown, Louisville, Kentucky, the first Saturday in May for that thing called the Kentucky Derby, you don't know what you're missing. Those of you who have, I don't have to explain. Everybody who's anybody and everybody who's nobody is in this city for that weekend. I don't care who it is, whether you're the biggest sports stars, the biggest pop music, R&B, hip hop, country, Queen of England, whoever it is. Everybody is in Louisville, Kentucky for that weekend and the parties and galas. And it's not even just about the horse race. It is the event. So if you haven't been here, what better time to go this year? Because our sponsor for today's show, Love Our Ventures, Inc., who is the premium accommodations provider for destinations across the U.S., has come up with a really special deal for the One Flock audience, and that is they have reserved one of their premier condos. They have held it back from being reserved in the New Lou District. I'm just going to read it off the script here so you can hear what they're doing for us. Attention, Kentucky Derby fans. The 150th Kentucky Derby is right around the corner. And if you haven't locked in your accommodations, this is your last chance to do it in style. Love Our Ventures, Inc., your premier choice for luxury accommodations across the U.S., has one of the last premium condos available for Derby weekend. Located in Louisville's hottest new district, this stunning condo sleeps up to 9 guests, is within walking distance of Whiskey Row, the Louisville Slugger Museum, bars, restaurants, shops, Derby parties, and even the biggest Kentucky Derby galas. Plus, it's just a short drive to Churchill Downs. This exclusive listing includes private parking, a private backyard, and premium bidding, all the luxury you need to enjoy the most thrilling weekend in horse racing. Don't miss out. Email luxury@loveourventuresinc.com now and let them know you heard about this special offer on One Flock. Love Our Ventures, Inc., your premier resource for luxury accommodations across the U.S. Wow. Those of you know anything about Derby, anything in that area has been gone for months. People book their Derby accommodations a year in advance. Love Our Ventures has held that thing. So if you're interested, I'll post again in the comments the email address. loveourventuresinc.com is the website, and the email address luxury@loveourventuresinc.com. Okay. Wow. Big year. I mean, you make your first Derby, pick the Derby winner. I don't know. Whatever people do with Derby, find some bourbon. Maybe win a Super Bowl. We got so much to talk about, but let's get to the call of the day, because call of the day, I don't want to slip on this. Our call of the day comes from US3R24. He says, another problem, Saquon just got paid and Derrick Henry's price probably just went up. The FO is known to not overpay. Think they will still take care of him? Well, thank you, US3R24. Do I think that we'll still take care of Derrick Henry? Yes. However, am I concerned about the price tag that Saquon just got being the Derrick Henry price? Absolutely not. And here's why. Not because Derrick Henry isn't a legend. Derrick Henry's still that man. This is a longevity question. See, does Saquon have more time before he potentially falls off the cliff? Or does Derrick Henry? See, the question marks about a Derrick Henry who we're just marveling at as to how he's doing so great at 31, right? Because remember, 30 is the year, people, Saquon's not there yet. So the money that Saquon got is taking all that into account. So when the Ravens sit down and talk to Derrick Henry, he's going to get a nice deal because he deserves it. But it won't be, we don't have to worry about the price that, Saquon's getting on that deal. I think it's estimated at $20 million a year or something like that Saquon's getting. I think that's what it is. I have to double check those stats. Y'all tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, but it's a great deal. Saquon's worth every penny that they're giving him. Derrick Henry will get taken care of. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. The king is going to be here. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, we're riding that duo to a Super Bowl, and I can't wait to see who this acquisition is that we're bringing in later on, because the rumbling in the bushes is something is about to shake. And with Devontae Adams sitting out there, with Max Crosby out there, I mean, who is it? There's some big names floating around out there, free agents. But guys, we got a lot to talk about. We know draft is coming up. We're gonna get some special guests on. We're gonna talk about, figuring out what this draft capital situation is looking like, because that's been a big subject of discussion. We know the combine happened. You guys, tell me in the comments who you liked at the combine. Who you thinking we should get? You think we should prioritize corner? You think we should prioritize a edge rusher? Are you thinking wide receiver, Devontae Adams? What are you guys thinking? Tell me in the comments. And we're gonna delve off in all of that. I know this is the off season, but there is plenty to talk about, and we'll be breaking it all down here. Can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here again today. Wow, One Flock, you guys have made it special. Again, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you again to our sponsor, Love Our Ventures, Inc. I want to say thank you to all of you who have been supporting the show, leaving your comments, leaving the love, and I've been getting plenty of that. and we're gonna ride this thing all the way through. So I appreciate you being here. Remember, if there's one thing in this world that it'll never be too full of, that thing is love. So I want you all to do each other a favor. Do me a favor. Find somebody who needs a little bit more love in their life and love on them a little bit, all right? For One Flock, I'm your host, Rob Love. It's good to be back, y'all. Thanks for flying with a brother. I will see you soon. We got a Super Bowl to chase down, and let's see how we gonna do it. What contracts are getting done? Who's coming in with free agency? Who we taking in the draft? I don't know, but we're gonna find out together. We'll see you next time on One Flock. Let's fly, y'all.
We take the field as one flock. Like no Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep grinding till we soar to the top. Come on, Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep grinding till we soar to the top. Let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens. We are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock.
Everything out of me, they gonna get a Super Bowl out of me.